The other things I get involved in at MCLL is photography and computers. So to a degree as well, presentation methods and skills. I've been involved quite a bit in making presentations. I've given some workshops on this. It's really an overall part of MCLL. So these things are all done in English, of course, and it really helps maintain and develop the English aspect of my life, because by and large, the rest of my life, I'll be involved really speaking French. It's overwhelming me that way. You know, with spouse, children, other family, the neighborhood that I live in is quite French. And even a number of activities that I participate as a volunteer, they're always in French. So MCLL gives me the opportunity to volunteer at things that I enjoy, which is the way it should be. So I enjoy researching, moderating. I've been a moderator for a number of subjects, particularly with photography. I've made many presentations and helped other people with photography. I've done a lot of photography. I've been doing portraits, if you wish, of MCLL members. And lately, I've been doing Zoom hosting, which I'll talk about a little later on, particularly with respect to the hybrid model. So the ways in which I have shared computer skills is I was involved from the very, very beginning with another well-known MCLL person, Fiona Clark. When I first joined MCLL, I got to know Fiona Clark, and she was aware that I was involved in computers because although I was in management, I was involved in computer training at the company I worked in. So we did some hands-on classes with respect to computers for several years. At that time, there were many people who were just getting computers, and the presentations, by and large, were often just verbal, and some people were starting to make presentations using the computer, and there was a desire on the part of participants to start to learn this. When I was giving the hands-on classes in computer lab with Fiona Clark, a little story came about. It was kind of funny. I had this one student who was very happy. She'd been looking forward to being introduced to computers. She really did not know much about them. And the first time she sat on the chair in front of the computer, she patted the terminal like this. And she said, "Isn't it amazing all the things you have in this machine? You know, isn't it amazing what you can find out?" And indeed it was amazing, because what was so interesting about teaching senior adults about computers was that many of these people were very cultured people. They were people who traveled, they were people who read, they were people who knew a lot of things. And all of a sudden, learning how to use a computer for them was a way to really get into even more information. You know, a person that was interested in art could go to any of the museums online and see artwork. It was just fantastic. So when she was saying, yes, there's lots of things in this terminal, it was very, very true. Because of my photography, and I had a lot of requests from people saying, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? So I put together some Friday workshops. Fridays at MCLL is usually lectures and workshops. And so I did a number of photography workshops, things like how to handle digital images. What are they? What kind of media do you use? How do you transfer them to the computer? How do you store them in the computer? How do you sort them into computers? So I taught a number of various photo software to do that in order for people, you know, with the objective is that they could take pictures either from the internet or take them themselves, and they could put them in such a way that they could integrate them into a presentation. And they didn't need to have, you know, Photoshop. They didn't need to have you know, PowerPoint. They could simply have these images on a USB stick, for example, and be able to project them when they're talking about their particular subject. So I did the demonstration of a number of projects, how to utilize image, because what happens when we got into digital photography is people took many, many pictures, but they stayed either on their computer and they didn't really know how to use them. So I tried to demonstrate to people the many ways you could use pictures in presentations, in books, how to make books, how to make video montages, different ways that you can actually utilize your image and motivate you to take pictures. One of the things that I've been involved with is Zoom hosting, if you wish. Zoom hosting came about, as probably most of you know, as a result of the pandemic. In March of 2020, all of a sudden everything stopped. Fortunately, we had some people at MCLL that were familiar with Zoom and started testing it in the spring of 2020. And as of the summer, they asked for volunteers to act as Zoom hosts. And so I've been a Zoom host since the summer of 2020 for study groups and lectures. And then recently I've become also a Zoom host in the hybrid study groups. And the hybrid study groups are really quite important because this is a new way that MCLL will be able to enlarge its audience, if you wish, because it will allow people from out of town to participate in MCLL activities, lectures, and study groups. It will increase the number of members with reduced mobility, people who can't get around that well, to participate at MCLL. It also gives us a method that we can deal with dangerous winter conditions, where people in the winter sometimes they want to participate, but they can't come in. The host, if acting as a host, acting in hybrid environment will help widen the overall reach of MCLL. So it's something I'm very proud of and I really actually enjoy a lot.